The big things we were going to do is, one, if you don't have the page where all the season material is stored, this is the QR code for that, so that should be like bookmarked, saved. I mean, and I'm pretty sure the link does not change year to year.
No,
as well.
it's the same link
So,
as
like,
View Docs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where all the documentation is stored, and you should 100% please save it.
Do like questions or like concerns?
Well, the big thing is we want to go over just the big updates.
Yes.
The big update for the year, right, is just so that we're all clear, is that there is no core values judging anymore, right? So on the, I don't.
Want me to do it? I got you.
This is so tragic for real. Like.
Okay.
No, it's just I'm a big boy. I can.
No, then press the green.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, you
Wait,
got
sick.
it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's crazy.
Got you.
Right.
I'll stand by the computer. Don't
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
I broke it.
No.
Right. No,
Nice.
hold up. Wait.
Yeah? Just wiggle it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good. Back
okay.
back.
Okay.
Do it.
Percussive maintenance work.
It's fine.
Okay.
I liked on this side better once we're closer to it.
It's your moment to shine.
Is that shine? Wait, what if I switch the port?
Ooh.
Did that do anything?
Shalene's working 19. That's what that's
I don't know.
Just send him over to help you.
You have your charger?
He needs a ticket.
It shouldn't. I mean, I could just use my laptop. My laptop was working.
You wanted to use your laptop anyway.
I didn't want
Yes,
to.
we won't.
It was a bit.
You have a ticket?
Yeah, no, it's apparently. Oh,
The
criminate.
simplest
All right.
solution.
So
Yay.
the
Technical.
core values presentation time, the 3 minutes that were in it, are absorbed into the feedback time, right? And so there is no core values rubric. The core values rubric score. Oh no, I have to touch this thing
It's
again.
okay, I got you.
Wait, the rubrics?
No, it's
No.
Q&A.
Oh no. There are so many tabs.
It's okay. I can't find them.
Technology is
Okay.
scary.
It's so weird on here.
Okay.
Either one.
So the
So,
something.
Yeah, all of those gears are ones that will double for both the rubric that they're on as well as the
Core
core value
values.
score. Okay, that's the big change on that. For the 8 minutes of feedback and sharing, it's everyone's first year. So there's no real established like best practices or anything. If you want to have your team say a little thing or share a funny anecdote or something, I'm sure that is like a very valuable time to do that in, right? Because we don't really have a chance before that. But really, I think it's going to be more of like an extended or more open kind of Q&A for anything the judges missed or anything that
A whole project.
Yeah,
Q&A,
just
not
like-
just like a specific innovation
Exactly.
or robot design.
a very holistic thing.
Yes.
It seemed like last year, or like in the past, they discouraged judges from asking questions during that feedback.
Now-
Has that shifted?
I don't think so. I think now you can just keep talking. You can just like talk through it basically. Like judges can like talk through it and ask questions or whatever, and there's back and forth.
I'm sorry, what were you saying about the double points?
Yeah. So for the rubrics,
It's not so much double points, it's just that
any of
it's
the
just gonna count
gears.
for both.
So if you get a 3 here, it's a 3 in your innovation project as well as a 3 score in your core values.
Oh, I
It
see.
contributes to both. Yeah.
So just for clarification purposes, our team loves to do skits, and
Sure.
they've always done a skit, like a
Right.
fun, you know, 1.5 million skit for
Yeah,
core
yeah.
values. So they won't have time to present
At all.
everything.
Well, okay. I mean,
They can
technically.
present it in the 8-minute feedback.
Yeah, there's nothing
technically.
stopping you from doing it in the feedback zone. It's just there's no specific rubric for it.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Yeah.
start with it, or you wouldn't do it in that like designated core values section.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
That's all right. That's it for that's kind of it for like the format change. The other big point that we need to make very clear is the research topics like scope, right? So it needs to deal with oceanic exploration. That is the hard scope. So if you are doing something related to the ocean, but it is not related to oceanic exploration, it does not count. It is not it is not like a
It's not a find a topic, pick a problem. It's this is the topic. It's very specific
Yeah,
for
so-
the topic this year.
An example I will give is oceanic pollution. Pollution intrinsically is not an issue It is a very large issue for the ocean. It is intrinsically not an issue for oceanic exploration. You have to make the connection from oceanic pollution to, oh, it affects the machinery that these explorers use. Oh, it gunks up like the life support systems on these like deep sea bases.
Question?
So you have to make that connection. If you do not make that connection, your topic is not valid.
So what does that mean, not valid?
It means that you will lose points specifically on
Sorry, I'm having you tab around again.
huh?
I'm sorry, I'm having you
No,
tab
it's-
around.
No, it's fine. Well, luckily she's doing
can do
most
the
of
things.
it. So that you will fail to like that shows that you do not do your research, right? Because you are not connecting your work to like the problem topic. It's not like the explanation of the solution. Well, the solution's not really for the problems that you're supposed to be looking for. So it forces us to like push all of your points towards that end. Yeah, that's really what that comes down to. Yeah,
So let's say like tracking a sea turtle,
sure,
ocean exploration.
sure.
Great.
So in the sense of like what would the problem be specifically?
Well, I did not interpret it that way
Okay.
at first. So ours is like really ocean based or like project right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like currently in the moment think about how to tie it back to ocean exploration.
My personal interpretation would definitely be like the animals in the ocean are part of the ocean. So if you're trying to find a better way to track like sea turtle migration paths, like yeah, 100%. That's oceanic exploration.
So I guess like what would be an example of ocean, it being related to oceans and not ocean exploration?
What I just said, like the pollution bit,
This one.
where
I see.
yeah.
So-
Okay,
So like
gotcha.
cleaning up the
Okay.
garbage patch would
Right,
not count.
correct,
Okay.
because it doesn't really affect our ability to explore the oceans. It does affect the oceans, and it's not the best thing in the world, but
Right,
it,
but you're not like cleaning the ocean.
Correct.
So this is
Correct.
in the engineering notebook. This is an entire one page that talks about what you need for getting started with the innovation project.
And
And it says it like
the big
right
phrase is
here, to dive into a problem faced by people who explore the oceans. And this is
I read this.
yeah, it's just, I know in the past it's been in the theme, but this year it's like very specific to exploration in the ocean. So if you already have a tried and true method, but you don't have oceanic exploration, that's going to be really hard. And it does, if you haven't explored, there is like a comic book that you can kind of set to.
The comic book
But
is
the
very
comic book
bad.
is very,
It's very bad.
confusing
It's
because there's no
confusing.
words.
No,
Yeah,
And some
it's-
of it makes you think that you can do something about habitat or
But-
getting more fish for the.
But it's only if
But
it's
it has nothing
connected
to do with
to
it.
people exploration of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you scroll down, right up at the top, right here, identify and research. So it says conduct research to explore existing solutions to the problem and determine what challenges will face. You may want to create something new or improve upon an existing solution. So I know in the past, it's really about like creating your seriously own innovative idea. But in this case, since it's so specific, is it okay to really dive into a very specific like innovation that already exists, but you're just trying to improve
that's
upon
part-
it?
Something that I actually have my students always do is whenever they research a problem, I also have them research what currently exists, because if you can make a substantial improvement to it, that's an innovation in and of itself, right? If you don't need to reinvent the wheel, you just need to add tread so it can go through the snow, why not?
So this year that might be a best practice since it's so specific, or
I don't think it's necessarily the case.
It's up
yeah.
to how
However you want.
how your team finds interest in it and the sources that are available to you for research. I mean, if they find something they're like, this is cool, but we want to make it better, do it. You were always able to do that really before. It's just a lot of people did create their own solutions. So it still is kind of, you decide.
Yeah, so it feels like a stretch, but say that your kids are like, oh, we want to save like this type of seal or something.
Sure.
Can could they be like, oh, it's related to exploration because if those seals are dead, then you can't explore and find out.
I've had so many people try to say that. I would go.
Feels like a big
No, I know. I've heard. I would caution them against it,
Yeah.
right? I think if you're trying to work on better ways, so I think the whole like sea turtle tracking thing, like that's actually a really good one. Like better and healthier ways of tracking migration patterns is a good one.
You can connect
Or-
it to the person that is doing
Yeah.
the work existing already with seals. So if you think like seals are becoming extinct, are there people that their job is to track extinct seal populations? Are there trackers? Are there people who are like already doing that work? And that's
Right.
what you start, I think, in this game from the expert, not necessarily from the problem, which is a different way to think about
It
it.
could be like maybe like how aquariums are like how aquariums are interacting with sea populations.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
And if
tracks.
you were to do something like regarding aquariums, we in New York and in Brooklyn are very blessed that we have, an aquarium. We have multiple aquariums in New York State. So those
Really?
are some of, there's one in Long Island,
Oh,
there's
I love the
there's
Riverhead
one in
Aquarium.
Coney Island,
That's such a
there's
nice
a
one.
bunch of big ones on the Eastern Seaboard. So for experts, that is people that, you can connect with.
The rest, those like this and like this whole like clarification of the topic and the just refreshing everyone on the updated structure of the judging session is really the only like major thing that as veteran coaches you guys really need to hear. And so the rest of this can just be like, if you want to workshop various problems, if you or solutions, if you want to, if you have any specific questions about things that you've experienced in the past and you want clarification on for this year, like like that's what this time is for. Like this, like unlike the rookie coaches where we have to like, you need to know this and this and this and this and this and this. You all know this stuff. So, do you guys have any specific questions? Anything that you guys are stuck with? Sure.
So this is like tying from like experience last year and like a couple of years where I always get my kids to at least get the 3s and like that's their mark. But and then like obviously it's like clear evidence, like and there's a short amount of time, and so like if they're giving an additional resource to be like, I guess like look through or whatever, can that be considered part of the presentation, or is it like whatever comes out of their mouth?
So the judging, what you can accept in terms of the judging is only within the judging times.
Yes.
So if you give the judges like a booklet,
Or a photo book or whatever.
yeah, and like it's cool, and maybe you want to give them time during like the extended feedback session for them to like look through it and for like the kids to talk through it.
They can't
And,
keep
like,
it
that's
and
fine.
refer to it later during
Right.
deliberations or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like after the fact, when it comes to like their score, like as soon as the judging session's over though, like it's not really
Right.
like can't be,
Yeah, because I know like if I were the person standing up there trying to do 5 minutes and talk about the 5 different like people that I've talked to and the multiple documents that I researched, and like to make sure that it succeeds, right? As it like I can touch on it briefly. Like there's all these like things of like if I focus on one, then I lose out on another.
You should so I think so expert research, first of all, 5 expert researches is like, I mean that's sick. Like I wish I could get 5, man. Like I can't. But like for like if you have like 5, right? Like the rubric specified you want like at least 2. And then it's okay to be like, we talked like as a team, we took our research and we went to insert person A here and we discussed this. From that, we were able to continue our research and decide to change our path by X, Y, or Z. After we had our solution prototype, we
Talk to person C.
We talked to person C, and from there we decided that one of the aspects of our prototype wasn't sufficient, and so we spent extra time building up this. We also spoke to 3 other people to help with our research project as a whole. So you can just focus on like the more key components, and the rest you just shovel in, and
Same
then
with the sources.
Yeah,
Same with the sources. I mean, like we don't need a literature review.
Yeah. And
They
then-
don't need to synthesize all of it.
It just feels like sometimes like to make the clear evidence, because we had judges that like have given the kids 2 on something, like partial evidence of like reworking the code, and I'm like, how come the 10 different versions of code that they showed you wasn't enough? Like,
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's like certain things where I'm like, they definitely mentioned talking to experts. Why didn't they get the points? So like me being as a being a coach sitting there, I'm like,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
That happened to us as well.
We had that
And,
issue
like,
last year.
Our students talked to like 3 experts, they shared with the community, and then we got a score like a 1 on that, and it like or 2, I forget what it was, and we're like, okay, so how many experts is enough? How much research is enough?
Yeah, like,
what did they not do?
we did like 5 phases of our project last year, and they like identified each one, and they got like a 2 for iterate. And it's just like they
Yeah.
Maybe what you
recreated
can do is
something.
after you talk about it, leaving something behind, like pictures of the 5 different,
Right, but they just said
professionals.
that they.
We just
Yeah, you can't really.
But they talked about, if you talk about them and then you just leave it, so that because the 10 minutes that they have deliberating your team, they sometimes, I know the judges that I've spoken with, they do go over, because they forget, like, because they've seen like
We do
7
take-
things
You
already.
leave like an organizer that's like reminders, these are the things we talked about.
That's what we did, because it's hard to remember what the kids are talking about for 5 minutes, so you leave something and then, oh, okay, here are the 5 professionals.
Yeah, we should clarify.
But we've left that behind before, and
I think we need to clarify handouts if we can
Yeah,
allow
whether
teams
we're
to get
allowed.
handouts.
can't.
Have you done it before?
We don't.
It's never been.
It's never been explicit a yes or a no.
There
I
was a
think we
point
should.
where they would accept it, and then
There was a point
they
where-
went through a phrase where
Right.
like, don't leave
Nothing?
anything
There's
behind.
no explicit no on
Like
yes.
pamphlets.
You're not giving handouts, you can give a handout.
Okay, let's
You can.
just double.
Yes. So
There's-
that's for now unless they change the rule.
I'm also not. I am also like well aware that like there are judges who, like judge training is important, and so like that's
Yeah,
definitely something that's a
this
take.
mainly sounds like a judge training issue. It sounds like judges need to be emphasized, like, this is how you follow
I think
this,
it
and
should
like,
be.
this is
Well, like-
what a good example looks like, and so like, they need a better idea of like, if you have 3 experts, that is a 3. because
It says
needs to be
team
required.
should not leave anything in the judging room when they leave on the
So-
judging flow chart. So
Like when
That answers that question.
like when I get candy, it's nice, but it's like if they give me like a pamphlet, I have to not.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't take it into account. It's kind of why like I really emphasize having those visual aids during the presentation, and I understand the issues that you guys had sound like it wasn't like necessarily your fault. So like I don't right, but I like it's like I always make sure to have like visual aids just very clear like we did this and then this and then, like it's like large mainly pictures, maybe a sentence, and
Maybe
then that's
something
it.
that you can give to flip through during that extended feedback, but not something that's like.
Oh yeah,
you
the extended
could-
feedback really gives you the opportunity.
So
for
yeah,
that.
you could have like, here's our documentation, and you could have the kids talk through their documentation during that extended time. And you could have it as like a photo book or like a scrapbook, and kind of allow that to maybe show their like team spirit, etc.
Okay. Look, I'm just speaking from last year's experience. So I also volunteered as a judge last year as well, and just going through it, it's sometimes the kids go really, really fast. I'm not making any excuses for anyone, but I'm just realizing how fast it go, right? And what I've been doing is I've been writing down my notes right onto the rubrics as they go, so I capture everything. The one reason why I volunteer is because, unfortunately, FIRST needs help with expertise, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm
Please
just saying that we
volunteer.
just need help, right? So I have an engineering background, so I did the robotics session, so I really could appreciate what the kids are going through and how they arrive. So I understand the difficulties the kids had, so I was able to judge that properly. However, our team did not get that same courtesy. So that's what I'm trying to say is that when I went to judge, I make sure I gave it 110% because I know how hard they worked for it. But a lot of other judges, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying that they just need more training because we're not to the same par. So that's what I'm just trying to point out. There's got to be more consistency between one session to another one.
Last year, our experience was very negative, and the students were really discouraged.
I think one thing that's like a very easy thing to say is that everyone here, other like I see you know, obviously you guys are a little young for it, but like everyone here should judge. I think
Please
both
judge.
and like it both better. Like if you have the time, please judge. And I say this both because like yes, we need more experienced judges
But it
who
makes
like know FL.
your team better.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it literally makes your team better to have the experience.
The first time I judged, I came out of that like radically changing how I like wrote my scripts and how I organized most of my documentation, because it went from, oh yeah, they're like, of course they're gonna be able to understand this. This is like whatever, it's easy. And then I judged and I said, oh, I've been doing everything critically wrong. Like I don't know, it's kind of it's enlightening and it helps, and I do recommend as a coach you should volunteer as a judge.
Yeah, just going off of that, like I've judged all 3 levels of first robotics, first tech, first Lego, and like it gives you so much insight as a person that's coaching, right? So when you can do the judging and then you can do the coaching, it's so helpful. There's so many qualifiers and we need people, and it helps you help your students. So if you have another free Saturday or Sunday, like you can do it. And it's so, like this entire thing is public to helping them create their presentations.
I will also say that regardless of that, there is also still no guarantee that you're going to have judges who will be experienced, especially for the innovation project, because like, you know, it's different every year. How are you going to make sure that the electricity year has electricity people, and how are you going to make sure the animal year has animal people, and how are you going to make sure that the airplane landing gear year is going to have airplane landing gear people? It's like you can't, right? So it is very important that you do make your presentations as accessible to the layman as possible,
Yes.
including the robotic stuff. And if you have parents who want to get involved, like, and they don't have a lot of time or whatever, parents are phenomenal for this. A lot of parents don't really know too much about the robots. They don't really know too much about what's going on necessarily, but they care about their kid. They care about their kid, and they're willing to, and like they're gonna like sit and listen. So you should have you can have them be your first like proofing of your scripts. And if there's something too complicated, if they're going too quickly, if they're using terms that they don't previously use before, you're not going to catch that because you all know what you're doing. But
Yes.
the parents do, but the parents won't.
I would agree with
So-
Noah on that, because at the end of the day, you don't know who your kids are presenting to, right? You can get an expert and you can get someone who was introduced to First Lego League yesterday, right? So you need to make sure that your presentation is as accessible as possible. The people who, like, if they really know it, they can explain it to someone who has no knowledge of Lego.
An easy example of this is like, I'm sure you all know the gyro sensor, right? Spikes have the built-in gyro sensor. Everyone here probably should be using gyro turns. If you don't use gyro turns, please come see me at some point. I'll show you how to do a really easy code, and I'll show you how to explain it to kids or whatever. But like most people, like most robotics people, if you go up and say, oh yeah, my gyro turn code isn't working properly, can you help me? They're going to be able to be like, oh, gyro turn code, it uses the sensor. They probably use like vaguely these functions.
But if you were to walk up to a parent and be like, yeah, I used a gyro, they're going to be like, the Greek
The
street
sandwich?
food? The sandwich? Like, they don't know what that is.
So
you have to make sure your presentation...
You're pronouncing it wrong. It's weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, please, like, you should be orientating your presentations for lay people. Any other?
Before you go on,
Yeah, go for
during deliberations,
Mhm.
right? So because there was only 2 of us in the judging room, right? So one of us took the innovation, one of us took the robotics, right? But we only got, some feedback from the other judge on the ones they were supposed to work on. During deliberations, is every judge supposed to judge every single thing?
I think that depends on your judging room, honestly.
We
No.
say, when we assign, we say, you are going to be judging
Judging
innovation,
innovation,
you're
you're judging robot
So-
design.
and
Yeah.
robotics.
So that's why every judge goes, so there's only one robotics rubrics, that one judge fills this out, but only gets feedback from the other 2 judges or one other one. But it's not 3 rubrics and then, right, we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
All the rubrics will be filled out. It's just you can't
Oh, no.
as things
No, I'm
evolve,
saying you have
one
three
person
copies.
is only in charge of that
No,
one
no.
page.
Yeah, you only get one copy of each rubric.
That's right.
That's correct.
Yeah. So
Okay.
only
Yeah.
one person is doing innovation, one person is doing robot design, but you
But
are
the
getting
other two
both of
are
them.
allowed to
You're allowed
speak
to
them.
speak to
Like,
it.
if they really
Okay,
disagree,
that's what we
this is
did.
for
So,
them.
Yeah.
so when I got feedback, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Especially for the core values part, like if you're very focused on, I mean, core values isn't like a part of it, but if something can get other points, if you saw something and someone was writing a note down because it's important to something specific and iterate,
Yes.
and they missed it, that's why you do have other people looking at the same things you are, even if they're not the ones specifically giving the check mark to it.
So just talking about the scoring.
All of these, so you'll see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the other one there will be, I think the other one also has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The scores on that will also count for your core values, and that becomes your core value score.
So it still maintains the scoring.
Yeah. Huh?
Those are only core values, those years.
Yeah. These are well, they count for this and core
Yeah, they
values.
count towards
Yeah,
robot
it's both.
and core values.
We still have the core value awards.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
The scoring is still kept in place. It's just,
There's
yeah.
not a specific section to highlight core values. Like you don't have the 3 minutes to do the core values.
I would recommend that, like, if your team, I know a lot of teams do skits, especially more experienced teams tend to do skits at the beginning of their innovation projects because it's fun and it's enjoyable and
Breaks the ice,
oh
makes it
god,
less
it's so
awkward.
nice. If you don't already do that, please do. Yeah, like have like an intro skit, because now without the core values presentation, it's a little bit harder for us as judges to remember you, because we won't have like this little like team-based presentation at the
beginning
end.
of innovation or at the beginning of Q&A?
So at the
I would
beginning
do
of
big innovation project.
really
So
excited.
what the way I structure my yeah, thank you.
Isn't it shorter this year? Isn't it only 5 minutes?
It's always been 5 minutes.
It's always been
Oh, is it
5.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
So it was 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes Q&A, 5 minutes, 5 minutes Q&A, and then 3 minutes
Yeah.
for core values.
Yeah.
So now that 3 minutes got absorbed into feedback for everything.
So the way typically the way I structure my innovation project scripts is that I basically use this as the blueprint, and I go in order from top to bottom, right? I if this is like old news for people, we can just stop here, but like I'll do like a 30-second intro at the beginning, and the 30 seconds is typically a skit that also introduces the research topic, right? So for example, on the year that one of my teams did an oil spill, it was like an oil spill problem. One of them laid on the floor and pretended to be an oil pipeline, and then one of them pretended to be a bear and like ate oil and then died. And then I had 2 other engineers come in and go, wow, that's a problem. And it was very stupid, don't get me wrong.
But that's the fun part.
Yeah.
For them and for us.
Like sometimes being like, the thing I always tell my kids is that you should take yourself as seriously as you need to in order to make fun of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like they can and should have a lot of fun with it.
All of the teams on First Lego, they're all amazing. You know what I mean? We need to put them in an order, so we want them to stand out. You know what I mean?
So I'll do like 30 seconds for the intro, and then the definition of the problem. What is the problem? What are the quantifications of the problem? How many people does it affect? How much money does it cost? Whatever. And then how we chose the topic. That comes here. That's like a minute. This is how do we choose our topic? How do we choose our problem in the presentation?
Something's always
Yeah.
going to go wrong.
You leave it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, one I got confused in. The second, this communicate, right? Clear explanation of solution and its potential impact on others.
Yeah.
What is that others? Because there's been debate about.
It's the impact of what your solution will have on the community.
Okay.
Not your exact, like not
Yeah.
your community here. It's
Like,
like the community of
intended-
people that would be utilizing the thing.
The
Yeah.
oceanographers.
The oceanographers.
That's the
The
other.
scuba divers,
The sea
whatever.
turtle.
Yeah,
No,
well,
not really.
But yeah, so which is why when I have my students do all of this work, I have them spend a lot of time quantifying the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for you to make the judges go, oh, this is a problem worth solving. Our solution affects all these people. If I can say, well, this affects 500,000 people a year. this causes X number of deaths, right? Like it's easy to be like, our solution has an impact because look at the problem, you know?
I would
So
also
think
say
quantification
that
matters a lot.
part of it is reaching out to other people and presenting. Part of those people are experts. You can ask your experts when you are discussing your presentation and your project, like, how would this impact you? If this was existing, how would this impact your work? You can use the terminology in the rubric to educate yourselves on how to improve it before you submit it for your time. You know what I mean? And if you say like, we spoke to this person and they had this really good idea and that's what we would want to do if we had more time on working on this, that's also something that you can include even if it's not already done in your presentation, because it shows like forward thinking.
Can you go back to the feedback page, the one with the multicolor one?
This one?
Yeah.
So that's you know where the comments were before in the old rubrics. Now they're all just on
Now
one
they're
page.
on one page.
So now the core values is here now. So we still.
Well, these are all just. Remember how like in the previous year's rubrics there were just comments at the bottom. They're just here.
Okay, but now we actually have a core value section, but that's not being counted. Is that?
Well, it's not judged. There's no number associated.
So there's no section of a rubric for core values, but core values should be integrated throughout both.
So we're commenting on the core values that they demonstrate within the other two presentations.
So
but
those
the scoring is still from the other two rubrics.
Correct.
So if, for example, you got all of the year ones or sun ones, however you want to say it, they are, and then we would be like, okay, you demonstrated a lot of core values, but if you didn't get any or not as many or whatever, like that's when we would write, you did this well, think about doing this, showing this, etc. It's not its own separate like judged page. It's within it.
But there are still numbers generated.
From the other two.
Yes.
Yes.
So we always bring a core values poster, no poster.
You can. There's nothing stopping you from bringing a poster. And frankly, I would still recommend like.
For the visuals.
It's just core value posters are so easy to do, and it's just like a fun thing to have. Yeah.
You
like,
could change it to like about our team
Yeah,
poster
yeah.
instead of like core values specifically.
Yeah,
like, you could still call it core values.
I think for the majority of the people in this room who have like you've done this before, you understand what the core values are supposed to be. You understand how the kids are supposed to embody them. Nothing about that has changed. It's only the way they're assessed.
Yeah.
And frankly, if your team wasn't showing core values in your other two presentations in previous years, they probably wouldn't. Like it probably reflects in their core value scores anyways. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like you guys fundamentally should not need to change too much other than you no longer have to do a core values presentation. And that fundamentally that should be the main change. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question back to the topic.
Go for
of
it.
The oceanographers.
Yeah.
Looking up the definition of oceanographers and their role in implementing solutions, and it says it is part of an oceanographer's role to implement solutions, environmental issues related to the ocean, and it includes problems like pollution, overfishing, coastal erosion, and climate change impacts on marine ecosystems. They also contribute to the development of new technologies to address these issues. So you can theoretically, really anything that you just said, as long as you are sharing it through like human
Through the lens of the
experience, through
expert,
the lens
yeah.
of the human.
Correct.
Yeah.
Go
Can
ahead.
I share, because I'm trying to rework what my team's
Yeah,
working on.
yeah,
My team's like large topic was plastic pollution in the ocean. I said that's too big, and I was also like I don't want to be the great garbage patches. I was like some other team's gonna do that. So
Yeah.
they focused down onto like this very specific island off the coast of Australia. This very specific bird species that lives on the island. That's like chicks eat plastic and die. Essentially, that's like in a nutshell. So you're saying that now that could work, but I should reframe the project as I am with scientist who studies migratory seabirds. The population is dwindling. Why is this happening?
Or how can we help the scientists with that problem?
Okay, and then they can be like, where are the birds? The birds are on this island. They're not getting off the island. We need to fix the island before we can start studying their migratory patterns.
I'm concerned if it's birds. Like, because it's
Yeah, no.
I know the ocean ecosystem, but I feel like it would need a visual maybe like an ocean ecosystem with the birds.
These birds spend like 90 99%
I-
of life
I think-
on the ocean.
I think as long as the problem is not the birds themselves, but something that the people studying the birds are having trouble with.
Yes, like they keep flying away, or
They're really hard to tag.
Yeah.
We lose GPS signal, like over this section of the remote Australian islands.
The Bermuda Triangle.
So the solution can be for the animal.
Yes.
Like I feel like that's what ours is too. With sea turtles, similar idea, right? Like there's male sea turtles. A lot of times die because the sand is too hot, so they're finding a way to cool the sand. They have lights leading for the sea turtles to be able to migrate to and from the water. Like that is like the basis of our project. So is that like not there?
Yeah, no, it feels a little too close to the animal and not to
Yeah,
the people.
that's-
You know what I
It is,
mean?
that's
Like
totally what it is.
that's and I think
I
really
think it's also like
this year
in
is-
the innovation project page, it says like there is a complex relationship between life on land, but you have to learn about marine life, ecosystems, and effects humans have on ocean health. So like pollution can be a part of it if it's like human effect on ocean health and marine life. So I think it's like the connection to the
What about the
ocean.
human's contribution to global warming?
If it's
That's like
I have to
connected.
say
That,
though,
like,
when I
all
read
these
that,
things
so this part is a little contrary to this part.
Yes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's saying two different things. But
yeah.
I'm going by the big bolded.
That's where
your
it's a
challenge is to
little
dive
confusing.
into problem faced by people. Just in the similar way that cartoon has nothing to do with the big
It
prompt.
makes no sense.
So
Yeah.
I would just
I
go
think
with
I think
the
we
big
can all
prompt.
I think we should all just collectively send a sternly worded email to First HQ and go,
Please.
why would you do this to us?
No, I think we should all send individual ones.
Okay, that
Actually,
one.
yeah, individual
No,
emails
yeah.
being like, we are confused, please help.
It's funny how the teaser video was like bubbles.
Yeah.
And then it's like problem faced by people with water involved. Like
We can make
that's
bubbles.
kind of like it does say like if you're reading like you said that big bold, it says problem faced by people. And so it's like I think if you have to focus like that's the highlighted part that you should look at is the problem faced by people who happen to be explorers of the ocean. And I think that's gonna be like
I feel
might have to
like
be like this is the project we started with and then we
Yeah.
I feel like the sea turtle one, if there is an unclear answer, it does say like problem by people who explore the ocean, but this one does say society's interest has led to a complex relationship with life on land and under the sea. So if there's a connection, you know, like it's just this is
So
weird.
what I'm taking from it is you are helping the sea turtles by helping the scientists.
Right,
Yes,
that's-
yeah.
Yeah, just like
Not
make
help
that point
scientists,
clear.
Yeah, the
not
focus is
help
the scientists, and then
Yeah.
by doing so,
It
you
has
help
to
the
be
sea turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, like,
But, how is the seabird specialist and the study seabirds if they're all dead?
Everyone, that's everyone.
What if there's like
That's just be the title of your team.
The title
That's a great
is
team.
Everyone is Dying.
I don't know.
Focus on the title.
Everyone's dying.
All dead.
Zoom-lander approach.
Okay.
Can I mention our topic very briefly?
Yeah,
Just
go
in
for
case So we have two. I just when I have to go back to the drawing board. But so we have two things. One is focusing on alerting communities of harmful algae blooms that they are going to be able to detect before they happen.
Creating a prototype that would detect harmful algae blooms for scientists as well as communities in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I think that's very like if you again, it's like if you can tie it to the scientist,
Tie it to the scientist.
then yeah, then like it. I think that's not it. Like if the algae, it's like the algae. How do the algae blooms currently negatively affect these people? How's it currently negatively affect the researchers? How does it negatively affect like the studies being done in the area? And if it and therefore we have this thing that will fix this problem. That's also a much bigger problem for like several other reasons.
Yeah,
But we're
I just
focusing on this.
wonder. This
Sure.
is more like you know, like
and then
not being able to like the
Yeah.
marine population.
Yeah,
marine
it's-
populations. Right?
The other one is they're creating this buoy system that emits orca sounds to prevent shark overcatch.
but that's more marine.
Yeah,
also.
that
That's related
sounds
to that
way
cartoon.
less.
I
It is
understand why
related.
they did that because it's related to, the
Yeah.
cartoons are very confusing.
Yeah.
It also
There's not a single
says,
human in the
I think, it does say marine researcher. So, if a marine researcher would use it,
Yeah. I'm
During
gonna be,
science
I'm
expeditions.
gonna be so real with you guys. I think I've not looked past the problem statement in the engineering notebook in like the 10 years that I've done this. I've not used the engineering
'Cause
notebook
they
past
haven't
the
made it
first
this-
like 4
It
years.
says ecologist right there.
yeah, it does say ecologist.
Right,
And
but you have to
photographer.
help the ecologists, not the birds themselves.
Right, but that could be managing that plastic, right? The ecologist can be working on helping and like keeping the plastic.
Yes, if the scientists are currently experiencing problems with the plastic outside of it's killing the birds.
What if one of the problems facing them?
Like no, so like actually one that's actually very relevant is that there's like a bunch of species of very it's like I think they're Amazonian birds, but they are very they're very attracted to the color. No, they're very attracted to bright colors, like most birds are. I like bright colors, whatever, it's not important. So what scientists do is they put like the bands on the birds to tag them,
Doesn't
right?
make sense.
And so when they put the bands on the birds to study them, what happens is the bands are brightly colored so scientists can see them. But as soon as you put the band on the birds, those birds become like 15 times more attractive to the other birds. So you're like they're creating like mating patterns like unintentionally, and like so like you know what I mean? Like there are like semi.
I'm more trying to take the research that they've done so far
Sure.
and tie it into a presentation that
Right.
works for this year's theme. If ecology, even though it's in the book, isn't actually the topic it should be.
Okay, I have
Right,
a,
and it says coastal
a
management
devil's
as well as a
advocate
topic,
question.
so.
Yeah.
So,
they're also
on the
they're
rubric,
gonna be
it
called
says
the
Yeah,
connected to
Really?
the season theme.
Which is like weird
On
things
the
to do.
individual.
Which is
Is there
oceans.
anywhere on the rubric that takes away points for not having it connecting to exploration?
It would.
Wait.
Again, I think it does go up until like the definition of the problem, because part of the definition of the problem is that how is the problem interfaced with your overall year, in terms of the overall year's theme.
So will the
That's my
judges,
interpretation.
so will the
Theme is a
judges be
summary.
trained?
That's
to, like-
submerged.
So I guess my question is, will the judges be trained to be looking specifically for exploration, or are they like just giving?
That's
This
a
theme-
that's
So,
a,
Sorry.
have you,
Because then
so
like when we
when
go
we
in.
do judge training, we show them that page and we say, the projects that you're gonna be looking at should be tied to this theme, and then we go over that theme.
Okay.
So that's in their heads. So that's why when you present, when the kids present, they should make sure they start off saying, this is related to this year's theme because it, and then explain it.
So like focusing on a problem that oceanographers
I mean, this
are
is where it's
facing as
helpful to kick off this a
discrimination.
little
That's not
earlier, because it's
something-
kind of like way too
Yes.
clear.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like, I feel like everyone in
I don't
this
think
has
that's-
a developed project already, or
Yeah.
someone.
like genuinely think you can do that as a project. I don't know
Right.
how you
Yeah.
construct a solution that is like encouraging to the judges. You know what I mean? But like that is a correct problem.
Field-specific DEI training in the oceanography education.
There are a lot of procedure things you can do. There's nothing stopping you from doing a procedure-based.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's
Like,
December.
but yeah,
Maybe I was interpreting.
This is nice to say.
And that's where it's like confusing. I feel like a first HQ.
I think First HQ does this to us on purpose.
I think they
Like,
also
I
do
think
it
this
to
is-
us on
Last year was
purpose.
very confusing.
Right.
Last year
I
all
did
we
not
had.
understand last year's
I love last year.
at all.
Anyway,
Right.
Well, what if you did something where it was like an LLM AI that helped improve your grant for ocean funding?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that technically.
That's
That works.
related.
That works.
That is
Yeah.
Like,
So that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
You can't explore the ocean if you don't have money.
I think that's very novel. like, I don't think you're gonna have a lot of like, if that's like the path you go down. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of competition in that area. You know, like it's gonna be a very unique topic.
How to win government grants? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is all like it's good that these kind of questions are coming up now.
I wish they were coming up earlier.
I
Yeah.
do wish they were coming up in like
So-
early October,
September,
September.
So just so I understand, during the feedback session
Yes.
of the presentation,
Uh-huh.
they could bring up another board
Mm-hmm.
and do a quick, like if they wanted to, they could do last year's core value presentation if they wanted to.
There's
right?
nothing stopping them from doing that.
But
We
is-
don't know
are they-
how, we have to hear from Rollins how we have to train the judges on that last section, cause I myself don't know. Cause we normally had the scores, everything was easy, but now this part is new. Is it supposed to be just the judges talking the whole time, like the grow and glow? Or is it a time when the team can speak? I don't know yet.
Because it looks like the teams
So
are
I just
supposed to be able to
whispered to
volunteer.
Rollins asking
Yeah.
earlier, and he said that it was more free form, like it was more,
Alright,
like it was
we'll-
less.
We'll approach it that way with
So
the
we're
students able
telling
to
the judges-
present again.
If
Have a
you
grow and
want
glow,
to.
but let them speak
If you
at
want
the
to.
same time.
Is that
I
8
think
minutes
we should
time?
have some kind of
Yeah.
format. The 3 minutes works so well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's 8 minutes blocked off.
It is.
Yeah.
Really going through every single resource about the innovation project to see specifically what is being asked about, how it's being judged, etc. And it's
No, I'm pretty
different
sure.
language.
I'm pretty sure First does it intentionally vague. Like, I don't think they want to be
I think
responsible.
they had a lot of ideas and they forgot to edit.
I just think First usually does not want responsibility for FLL because it like they give away so much.
Because he does
like,
engineering.
stuff. Like they give away so much agency, unlike other competitions where it's like pretty low.
Marine biologist, right?
Okay. If you guys have any questions as well about like if you're concerned about structuring your year a certain way, if you need help setting deadlines, that's cool. Literally like anything, yeah.
If anyone has any experts they're willing to share, that would be dope.
What? Sorry.
I'm sorry, can you
Bring in the sea turtle.
If anyone has experts they're willing to share.
Just on experts,
Oh, it's been difficult.
so I would say if you finalize your topic and have thoughts, social media is really, really helpful. Like last year for my team, they reached out to a bunch of people on Instagram and were like, we're this team and can you sit on a Zoom call and talk to us? And people were very willing to do that. So if you have, scientists go through aquarium pages, go through any type of resource you think to maybe connect to a real person and their real social media, and maybe you could get experts that way. Also, aquariums, we are surrounded by water in New York City, so there's a lot of organizations that may be able to lend a hand.
Voting people.
One problem my team faces year to year revolves around like building a model. And they end up feeling discouraged when they go to qualifiers or championships and they see extremely elaborate models. We don't have the capacity to reach some of those levels. So how much goes into judging like how intricate your model looks and what is like really looked for judging the model? What section?
Sure. The main section that you will be the only section that your prototype is actually judged for is. It's literally just one. And if you have any physical prototype whatsoever that does in fact demonstrate, even if it's just like visually like this is supposed to be a funnel, this and then stuff is supposed to go into the funnel and it's just like a visual thing, that's usually good enough to get a 3. Yeah. Honestly, like if it has labels or whatever, it's normally enough to get a 3. The really elaborate stuff might get you like a 4. But I think if you're like most times, if you do not have the capacity to build it, to build anything really elaborate or functional or whatever, that's super fine. Like you could definitely make up for that 1 point here with like everything else and pushing some of the other 3s to 4s. Absolutely. So.
Have they tried to build prototypes in the past?
Is it?
Yeah, so last year was our very first year where they did very well in innovation. They earned an award, but our model was just like a cardboard box. We had some funnels, like you said, and we used some hot glue or the 3
like epoxy.
Yeah, it was like a 3D print thing to
Oh.
create like some filament
Sure.
to show certain things. But I mean, just like transporting it, and by the time we got there, it didn't look good. But
So-
we still scored well. But I kind of view it as an outlier because every other year we don't score very well.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, I think the prototype doesn't really play a huge role in that. On like just to yeah, the prototype really doesn't affect too much. I will say though that if you do want to spend the time to develop that prototype, and you don't have, is it like financial resources or is it like time time resources? I was gonna time resources.
It's time, financial, just like my own self. Like I wouldn't have the vision to create some of those elaborate things. I'm sure if we have experts and other people to come
Mick.
help us, exactly.
Wait, Mick. Yeah, what's up?
Hello. So at NYC First, we actually now have 4 STEM centers around the city that can that will help support your teams in their innovation project or anything they need. All you need to do is basically get your team to the STEM center and get connected to one of our staff members. So at Cornell Tech, we now have on Fridays we have a community team, a community FLL team, building out of that space where they have some expertise in addition to our expert staff who typically do first tech challenge and first robotics competition, and they can go through the engineering design process with your students. Similarly, at Washington Heights, we have a very similar system where they have a lot of Legos basically in the basement of the Washington Heights Public Library that's open to all people in the community. And we currently have 2 new STEM centers, and I'm not sure how much of this they are equipped for yet. But so if you are hoping to upskill your innovation project, especially in the fabrication sense, I would definitely check out the STEM centers by emailing info@nycfirst.org, emailing Rollins, who can help connect you, or checking our Instagram and coming. I would come by yourself as a coach to drop in hours first, suss out the vibe, chat with our staff, and then see what time and what day makes the most sense for you and your team to come.
Okay, thank you.
Also, yeah, just let me know if you want to shoot me an email and let me know which STEM center would be most convenient for you. Washington Heights, Roosevelt Island, or AFH at Andrew Freeman. I can then connect you with the manager of that STEM center directly via email, and then I can just do that introduction.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns from previous years that you want to work on for this year? Any more workshopping of the innovation project stuff? I know the topic is very, yeah, it's rough.
So we have a Brooklyn STEM Center, but it only serves district students.
Okay.
But if you are hoping to do something specifically in Brooklyn, reach out and we can see what might be possible.
But the Brooklyn STEM Center that serves C13 is only a 7-minute walk from here. So, yeah.
For this year, how many judges are you planning to have in each judging room?
The ultimate goal is that there are 3 judges minimum per judging room.
So if you only have 2 rubrics, how do the judges divide that up?
I mean, how they did it with 2 judges before.
No, before I had 3 rubrics and 2 judges.
So like one judge is gonna be judging with the innovation rubric and one with the robot design, one with the core values. Maybe the 3 it'll still be the same format, but the core value person will be looking for more core value activities.
Specifically on the thing, maybe.
Yeah, and I think in general this kind of emphasizes the point that all judges are looking at all aspects of the project, and they're all able to give input on all different aspects. It's just there's ones who are assigned to filling up the sheet and checking off.
Specifically, it depends, but yeah, there are still core value parts in it, even though it's not like a sheet by themselves.
Alright, so you still anticipate 3 judges per judging room this year?
That's our hope.
That's our
But
hope.
we don't always get.
The more judges in a judging room, the better, because then you get better input, and you likely get scored better when there are more judges.
Yes.
And so encourage all of your parents and all of your network to sign up to volunteer so we have enough.
And coaches, please.
So as a coach, I'm guessing I can't judge a day I'm coaching, but I can come to another weekend day and judge of it.
And please do.
Yeah, usually they do the Saturday, Sunday, so if when I've done it, I've judged the Saturday and my team's gone on Sunday.
Okay.
I like at an earlier one, so I can kind of see
Yeah.
what other teams are doing. And
I do that as well.
Implement it in my team before they go.
Will there be an email saying, and now we're training, if you're interested in volunteering?
Yeah, we'll be sending out emails, and also we're gonna have judge training, like virtual judge training as well for peers, so that judges are even more prepared in going into the judging room, so we avoid judging issues.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Any more like really? It's a lot. Like yeah.
No, you had this video and you were talking about some of these prototypes. Can you just tell us like at like the world level, what are people building these prototypes?
Worlds is hard because I haven't actually done FLL judging at Worlds. I have seen it at like Razorback, which I guess that's comparable to Worlds. A lot of it actually is very approaching. It depends on per team and depends on the idea. There are a lot of like almost like just short of production level innovation project prototypes.
Okay.
But you have to understand that this is for two reasons. One, a lot of teams outside of New York City tend to have a lot more time. And outside of the US, you can do FLL until you're in 10th grade. So I think the scale of prototype doesn't, like at Worlds is an unfair standard to use for here. I think at the very least in New York City, the highest functioning prototypes here are very typically like
Still in the prototype phase.
they're like
It's still a concept.
yeah, it's very much like it may light up if there's a motor, the motor works sort of that kind of
There
deal.
may be a code.
So people are like doing like Arduino prototypes kind of thing.
Two of my teams last year did Arduino stuff. Yeah.
Mine did Lego, yeah.
Quick question. Just the winner from last year, which is Nightbots. Do you know how? I know they went to Texas, but any word on how well they did? I'm only curious because they were a 2-member team that beat everyone.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about that. Not to like shade any other team, but like they were a 2-person team of twin brothers who practiced all day.
Yes.
So
And who came to the STEM Center very regular.
that is how they did well.
Yeah.
last
No.
year.
Yeah. But how
At
did they?
Worlds, they didn't break top 10.
Wow.
So
You have to understand that Worlds, you have to understand that like Worlds is a completely different ballgame. Like it is a wildly different scale.
Being competitive in New York City is amazing, but we don't have the time and the resources that other states do to like in the schools, like in our own teams that a lot of other places do.
The best two high school teams here, I think, only just barely
FRC?
cracked. Yeah, for
For
just barely
FRC.
cracked top 25 in the Northeast
Yes.
like last year.
Yeah.
What area did well?
Huh?
What area across the United States did well?
Massachusetts has good teams, right?
Like who has the best teams in
Michigan.
the US?
Midwest. Yeah.
Oh god, Midwest teams are so good.
Midwest teams
Because they have
for
those-
all
Why is
three
it-
Because they have
programs.
those huge.
Because they have nothing else to do.
It's snowing all the time, so they're just inside.
shops, they just
Yeah.
They have space to have machine shops.
I know for FLL specifically, a lot of the really good teams are Spanish, as well as Japanese, and is it Californian? It
I feel
might
like
be
California has a lot of good FLL
yeah,
teams.
like the
California has great FLL teams, Florida has a lot of
Yeah.
FLL teams.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also like if you think about the method that they do FLL, like some places have FLL as a class, that is their class. They have a lot more time. If you're doing this as an after school club and you have an hour, 2 hours, the level of FLL product that you can produce is different when you're meeting every single day in school and then every single day after school or before school or on weekends. Like in the DOE, we kind of have time constraints or outside in charter, etc.
Oh, Mexico has really good
It's not the
teams.
same with our regulations.
Like for my team, which is all 6th graders,
Yeah.
we get a pizza party if we go to competition and score 200 points.
Yeah.
So that's what they're focused on.
Exactly.
We're not trying to get.
They're not focused on worlds. I mean, I told my team because I have 2 rookie teams this year and I'm like in the library with them and we meet once a week. Like that's just what they have. And they were like, where can this go? And I was just like, well, there is a world champs. And they were like, oh, absolutely not. Like, they don't even want to get there. Like, but I think it's just like they're focused on the now.
Yeah,
It's a different.
Can I just talk a little bit, extending the conversation about prototype? If your school or if you have limited funding, like if your parents aren't able to donate a lot of money, as a DOE employee, I always use donors choose. So
Yeah.
like to get t-shirts for the team, sometimes it gets costly. So I just create a donors choose project. It's sometimes I don't know if you've been on donors choose, but they give you a bunch of vendors, but to get like a special funding, there's a special project like button on the bottom, and you just upload the purchase order, and then you can send it out to your parents, and they can send it to their friends. So that's one way to get funding, to pay for, materials for a prototype or t-shirts.
Like
or
button makers, etc.,
giveaways.
whatever things that you have. Yeah.
The prototype doesn't technically have to be physical either, right?
No, absolutely
It
not.
could be a drawing.
It could be a model/drawing, model or drawing.
There was one year, there was a team who did like a digital museum of water or something like that, and it was like a whole like web page that they put. Yeah, it doesn't have to be physical. It just is like if your solution is a physical thing, it's best served if you have a physical prototype.
You can physically touch it and show it. But model and drawing is kind of subjective.
Yeah. Like if you have a really like well labeled drawing and you're like, yeah, we would build this, but we don't have the ability to pour concrete. It's like, yeah, that makes sense, and that's totally reasonable as long as it's well labeled and you're explaining like what you would do if you had the ability to do this, what were the steps you would take, right? That's showing the process that your team took to do the thorough research. That would, if they had the ability to, I think that tracks. Like that would be fine. More than adequate. Yeah. Any other questions? Like really, this is like I don't know. Like there's I feel like you guys know the majority of the things to do, so it's like
This is a
whatever open
Q&A,
questions.
open Q&A, resource hub.
Also, if you guys need any help this year, I'm not coaching any teams. Like I'm a free agent this year, so if you guys want any assistance, you can just like shoot. Like you can you can literally just shoot me an email, and I can like visit.
Kind of same. I now work at the STEM Center at District 13, the one that isn't open to the public yet. But yeah, I have no kids, and I'm bored.
Okay. For the STEM centers, we have to register ahead of time before you go.
No,
Sorry.
So for the STEM centers, if we want to go, we have to let you know ahead of time and then book a time.
So there are just general drop-in hours for you to go and attend. I would suggest before bringing your team, like bringing students, you go and you kind of set you have a meeting with one of our staff members so they know how to help your students when they arrive instead of trying to figure it out in the moment.
But we have to let you know we're coming.
No.
Oh.
Not for you can drop in at any time. They're open. The hours
Completely
are
open.
on Google Maps and they are on our Instagram and our website.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
And that has so many materials, so please use them. Advice, thoughts,
And
experience.
if you guys have any other questions about the STEM Center, my email is mick@nicfirst.org.
Or you can see and I'll get you to the right place.
Great.
Like most people come to the STEM centers like kind of just leaving school and coming in, or like
A lot of kids come after school.
After school.
We do some credit bearing classes at the STEM centers as well, so we have some people coming in during the school day as well. But a lot of and we have teams out of those centers as well, so lots of things happening.
Do you have? I know Gabriel might be in the Washington. Do you have bilingual staff? I'm thinking of kids in that area that I know.
Yeah, Patricia, who now manages the STEM Center at Washington Heights, is bilingual.
Oh, great! Thank you.
Yeah.
You have weekend hours or no?
Yes, Cornell Tech. Here, let me pull up our hours.
Yeah, and they're bilingual at Roosevelt Island.
Do you want to just
Wait,
put
thank
it
you.
on the thing so that people can just?
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
can just pull up.
Cornell on Saturdays open from 1 till 10 p.m.
Scroll up more. Oh, cool. Locations and hours.
So Cornell Tech, yeah.
The Freeman House. Freeman Home.
Oh, great.
Noah, what's your email?
Here, I'll come.
So if you want to bring your team though, we should.
I would reach out first before
Yeah.
you bring the team, because the spaces are typically more freeform and typically, the Cornell Tech one specifically is more high school based. So bringing a bunch of younger kids might be a little chaotic if there's a lot of activation around.
And do they have staff that can like walk the kids through, like, oh, how to just work this machine?
Of course.
And I heard during the Lunch and Learn with Lisa that there's an availability to make t-shirts.
Of course.
Yeah, so if you cannot afford to make t-shirts or buy t-shirts for your 10 student team, this is your ability. You do have to bring in the shirt material, but they can help you make the shirts so you have cool shirts.
So last year, just for reference, I made about 10 shirts for $20.
Yeah, 10 shirts for $20
Yeah.
at the STEM
You buy a
Center.
roll of like the Cricut
Yeah.
material, you buy the shirts in the correct sizes, and you like make your design with our STEM Center staff, and you can cut it out and iron it up.
Exactly.
Really?
Really.
Doorbuster deals on t-shirts for $12.
It's also, if you didn't know, that Giving Tuesday, Thursday, etc., if you're a DOE teacher, Donors Choose has a bunch of match offers. So if you don't have a cool connect to put up your project for actual t-shirts, you can buy t-shirt supplies, get it matched, have all your sizes in, and then go on over to the STEM Center and have the kids make the t-shirts. You can get button supplies and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like there are resources available to us, even though we're just cool NYC people.
Let's see, what are some other I don't know.
Robot design?
Robot
different section?
No, robot design is there's not much to like.
Robot design is pretty much the same every year.
Yeah,
I feel
robot
like,
doesn't
so
change much.
unless you have a question about it.
I mean, yeah, I only have what's up?
What's like the best way to prepare for like the actual competition day? Maybe like the week or month leading up to.
Okay, so the month before my competitions, so as soon as the 1 month mark countdown hits, all work stops on the robot. No more work is done on the robot. No code changes, no mechanical changes, no script changes, outside of like singular sentence stuff. And the reason is because if a kid goes into competition, they're naturally going to be nervous. I'd rather them be nervous and do the things they've been practicing for a month, rather than be nervous and have to do something they just finished tweaking the day before.
I similarly, I stop about a week, 2 weeks before, and I know that's like less time, but I meet my kids like once a week, and they don't have as much time. But mock judging is
Very
the thing.
important.
I harp on mock judging so much. I will literally every single time I see them in those times earlier before, I have them make their script. I have them switch cards with other people so they learn the script of other people just in case someone's absent that day. If you have 10 kids on your team and one person knows all the coding stuff, what are you gonna do if that one person is absent and they have the cards? So I'm so big on mock judging. I give random people in the school the judging rubric, and I make them present just over and over and over again, switching places so they learn the presentations from different parts. And then they redo it every single time, which is chaos. I understand. I'm insane for that, but I think it helps.
Yeah, any time from within that like 2 week to 1 month mark beforehand, right? It goes like I will do Q&A practice with my kids. If my qualifier is in middle of January, I start Q&A practice in December.
Yeah.
Like my Q&A, that's more a personal thing. I actually really love doing Q&A practice. That's like a personal thing. But
you
like
can also do Q&A practice even if you're not like fully ready.
Ready, yeah.
Like just like the presenting that itself is such a skill that's necessary. Like even if you're not fully ready yet, you can still have them present what we did today. Present what we did last week. Present on these questions and do mock judging even if it's not a formal process.
And then mock judging not to people that they know, but to maybe their
Strangers.
parents or like somebody that they don't know. to a
Teachers in
lay
another
person.
grade.
Because if they can't communicate their problem and solution, cohesively to somebody that knows nothing about oceanography, then they've done well. So
I also last year I had my students. So my students were co-located in a school that had a D75 school in the building, right? So I asked the coordinator for D75 if my team could present to a class of their students, and that was the first person they ever presented to, and it was like so nerve-wracking, and it was just such a great experience for both the D75 students and my students. So even presenting to your peers is really good.
For the Q&A practice, there are example questions that are given to you on like a document. They are not the only questions that you will be asked. It is a good idea for you to ask questions specifically on areas that you know your team is weak on.
Yes.
If you've written your, if you've, like, especially after the script has been written and all that, right? It's a good idea to go through and for you to judge your own team's scripts, and from there you can see where they're weak, because the whole point of the Q&A and judging is supposed to be to bump those 2s to 3s, to bump those 3s to 4s, right? So you want to make sure that they are prepared to get the questions where they might potentially have a 2, where they might potentially have a 3, and that way when they get those questions, they'll be able to answer them really well and push them straight up into the 4s. When I have Q&A practice, a lot of kids like being like, oh, you forgot a thing. Oh no, that was wrong. Why'd you say that? Right? Lots of like things. My main rule for my kids is that like you only one person does an add-on, right? Only one person gets to say in addition to. You want to give the judges enough time to ask the questions they want to ask. You don't want to spend like 2.5 minutes of the Q&A time answering a single question. But I try to really like grill them with lots of questions. I try to grill them both on the general, like, what was your favorite part of the innovation project?
Yeah.
As well as, when you costed out this specific part of your prototype, why did you choose this material over the other material? Because you don't know what questions you're gonna get in the judging room, and frankly, if they've done the research, they should know it. They may not know it well enough to answer it in the judging room, but they should know it. So you're there to help them beforehand, to help them craft their answer.
Something that I did last year that was really successful is I had the kids designate a point person in the presentation. So something that I did was I was like, as a team, who is your best person to speak about X, Y, and Z? All 10 of them had a thing that if a question got asked, they were the point person. So if a coding question, all the kids knew, Gabe has it. All the kids know innovation, this person has it. The other thing that I very specifically did was I did time drills with them. So I would make them go, okay, we got 5 minutes, give me your innovation presentation. It was chaotic, and it got them to really know it really quickly and try not to go over their time, because a lot of them get nervous. They forget what they're going to say, and sometimes cards can be beneficial or not, but the timing is so important that they don't want to go over and then miss the thing that they really want to bring.
Just one and two, but hold on. Going back to the original question, right, which is like, in addition to the rest of the preparation, I think, so like the month before everything stops, and it's like, I try to make sure that every single meeting we're doing at least 4 timed runs. We'll do 2 at the beginning and 2 at the end. So they're just constantly doing the physical drills. If your team has the capacity to have like a table and for it to be like elevated and for it to have the walls, this is good. A lot of teams who don't have that, when they first get to the robot field and it's elevated for the first time that they've seen it, it's like, oh no, everything's wrong. So making sure that they're doing their timed runs, making sure that their timed runs are also like you are seeing what goes wrong so that they know how to react when something goes wrong, because you do not want to rely on you having to yell at them from across the table for them to like remove an attachment. So just making sure that everyone has a role, everyone like is performing their role in the robot game and just doing drills over and over and over again. And any missions that require extreme precision, you can just focus on doing those drills. And then for the presentation, I generally try to do 2 a day, two full presentation runs a day. And then by the end of that, even if they don't have it fully memorized, they're at least very, very well aware of what their line is supposed to say. So that even if they forget, it's like, it's okay. I can like vaguely speak to it, what I need to get, what I need to get across, and then other people know to like come in, like once their section is done, they've said like the main idea, they can move on to the next line. And then before competition, just making sure that you have all your scripts printed, all your robots charged, all your firmwares updated, all your code. Oh, make sure you back up your code somewhere. That's really annoying.
Of code. Necessary.
Backing up your code, making sure you have all your presentation materials, and if you have like a lot of materials to bring into the judging room, just make sure you have a cart so that kids can like put all their crap on it and roll it into the judging room.
Question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, not this question, but when I did judging, I remember as much as I wanted to deviate or ask more details on the project, which is great. I mean, it shows that you were involved and you understand the project. My focus was to make sure they hit the rubrics.
Yeah.
So I would ask specific questions on the rubrics, like show me examples that you have your code evolved, which is that was one of the rubrics. So I asked them specific. I was trying to help them get the code.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get into the super details because they missed the rubrics, right? And to be fair, and they did the work, I tried to pull that out.
And that's really hard. So if your teams follow the rubric as a guide, it's better so that as judges we can get them better. We can ask better questions because they already got the baseline questions down from the rubric.
Yeah. It is very like specific, like team specific, right? Like if a team doesn't manage to hit those like all the marks, then we have to ask those basic questions. We have to try to pull out. But like if they do, and there's like a project I'm really into, oh my god, I'm gonna ask so many questions, and if they can answer to that, easy fours. Easy fours.
I have two things. First, I know you mentioned about having like point people for specific for like innovation and for robot design, which I tell them, to rely on certain students, but I usually tell them to try and spread out answering questions to like help for their core values teamwork. So if you're suggesting like having one point person,
the point person, so actually I disagree strongly with the point person principle.
And that's okay because it's all dependent on how your team functions. So my team was a rookie team. So this was their first time presenting, which is why we had a point person.
Point people can be
Point person can be really good or really bad. It's very dependent on your team.
But specifically for how do you make sure that everyone speaks within the Q&A, you can have point people for specific topics within each one. So for example, a point person in the innovation project for the experts, a point person for how you guys came up with the topic, a point person for how you develop your solution.
You can have multiple point people within the same overarching topic, but more specific for like, I was the one who contacted the experts and spoke to them and coordinated the calls. I was the one who did blah, 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 blah. But it's also, if your team, it's easier if you have a 10-person team for that, right? If you have a smaller team, a point person is not going to work because there's only 2 of you. You have to speak about everything all the time.
We have 10 in the room.
So 10 in the room is really good, but it's hard, and that's what my team was last year. We had 10 kids in the room, and I had to make sure all of them were going to speak, and that they knew what they were going to say, and it was so chaotic to ensure that.
It is very difficult, but I just have a lot of kids, and I try to be inclusive, so we do the best we can, but I usually assign one of like the older 8th graders or whatnot, as if no one answers, then make sure you're ready.
Having like a backup to save them.
But I agree with like assigning different topic points.
I also think that the assigning should come from the kids because even if you think like this person knows everything and I can see that they built the prototype, they may not, there may be another person that you didn't observe having all the knowledge, but they're really passionate about it. So I think that really comes out during the mock judging, the mock Q&A. When I did mock judging and mock Q&A, I would specifically ask kids questions to them. I'd be like, I haven't heard from you. Tell me something. And they told me after their first qualifier, Miss Donovan, I thought they were going to be so much meaner because of how you mock judged us. And I was like, no, they're really nice people. They were like, you terrified us. And I was like, yes, but you were prepared. So
we're the mean ones.
We're the mean ones. They're going to be really nice and impressed with you, but...
I have one more. In terms of I noticed you guys saying try to memorize the script as much as possible. That's something I feel like I struggle with getting my students to get to that point of I know it probably just comes from a lot of repetition with practice and whatnot. What do you suggest for that? In the room, like flashcards?
Yeah. So like the script itself being done early really helps that, right? Like if you finish the script a month beforehand and you're like, your only homework for the next month is to just memorize these 4 or 5 lines. Like,
but I think
the time
what you
helps,
just
but-
said, lines. You can't have them memorize a page and like a page of
Text.
all this
Yeah.
text. They need to have small things, otherwise they're gonna forget when they get nervous.
The longest line any of my kids have that they say in one go is I think 2 sentences. Or like maybe 3, maybe
like
3.
a numbered card, because I just have like a
Yeah. So what you can do? What you can do is my kids carry in like flashcards with just their lines, and then who speaks before them and who speaks after.
Okay.
So that way they know like, and then like, so they should know vaguely when they should speak, and then if they ever get a little confused, they just kind of look down, and go up, and then put it back, and then they're good.
I also put a cue, like my students didn't end up using their cards last year, but I put a cue for them, so like when they hear blah 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 word, their line is next. So theater training can
But
sometimes
some of the
have
judges want
keywords.
you to memorize things, because I know that's the feedback they give. Like, oh, it would have been a 4 if you had memorized everything. So I would
I
say,
haven't heard that. But
yeah.
even if they don't say it, they're
It's reflected in the.
It's reflected in
or
the.
sometimes they do say it. So I would say memorizing is obviously, optimal, but if they can, just having an index card, stick it in the back of like a prototype or something, and they could refer back to it in case they forget, because they're nervous. We all forget things when we get nervous. So I don't know, just try.
I tried gamifying it to help them remember it, and I would I was insane. I literally had, it was like number 22, go. And I would just quiz them if I saw them in the hallway, because
that is crazy,
it
you're
was
right.
chaos. But I also had like a month to have them make and create a presentation. Like they did not have an innovation project when I joined the school, and their competition was in a month. So we had to go into overdrive, and it became like very stringent rule following and memorization because we had to. But it's very team dependent. If you have time, if they can do it, if they can memorize it, do it. Otherwise you have to be crazy like I was, which I don't suggest.
No, we had our team last year actually made Quizlet, and we didn't even suggest. So they
Yeah.
came up with like gamification
Yeah.
techniques to really memorize their lines. But I said once you go to qualifiers, the level is so high.
Yeah.
I mean, for our standards, that if they haven't memorized the lines, is not going to happen.
You can tell
for the team.
which teams like really know it and don't. Even if they're using the cards, you can tell how they're speaking to it in the questions.
I do think that like at your qualifier level, not having anything memorized won't impact you in like a severe way, but definitely if you want to make a showing at even semifinals,
Yeah.
you really need to have it memorized, and
Yeah.
it's the difference is stark.
The higher you go in the competition, it becomes very necessary. But also that's the good thing about advancing, because you get the feedback from your judges and you're able to then take that and have more time with it.
How about one final question? So we always tell them that ideally the judges would even know who's more expert in the coding,
Sure.
or who are in charge of project. Like they all
Right.
have the different tasks, but they have to be so comfortable, like knowing what's happening on the board, knowing they all have to memorize the script. So am I on track, or it's like an overkill?
I do think it's overkill, but I don't think it's overkill in a bad way.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
agree
mean?
with that.
Like it's definitely, FLL doesn't really care if like someone's like that much better or takes charge on something. It just, as long as everyone has some role to play, it's fine. But making it so that your team is like fully evenly distributed amongst work and skill level, and that, why not? Like that's totally cool.
I think the scoring in FLL speaks to that in and of itself. 75% is judging. You know what I mean? So it is it's about the process. It's not about the product at the end of the day. So it's very like the judging is the showcase of everything they've done. So it doesn't matter if they have this perfect, amazing robot that's scoring a 650. You know what I mean? It's about like their process throughout the entire season. That's the more important part.
And I think speaking to that is like, I don't think it's necessary for you, like if you're spending additional effort to really make sure everyone is like fully level, I think that is not worth your time.
Yeah.
Simply because it is a natural like internal leadership structure thing to like have certain people like for certain people to get better at certain things and for the work to kind of coalesce under them. And having like team leaders naturally form as part of a team is a very good and healthy thing.
Yes.
So it's like so like if naturally everyone is like fully level and it's like flat, it's like that's good and that's fine and that's cool. But if it's not that, it's also not like it's fine.
No, and obviously they have different roles and different
Right.
levels of expertise, so to speak,
Yeah.
middle school level. But it was more in the eyes of the judges.
Oh, yeah.
You should all at least be familiarized with
Yes.
what
That is
everybody else has done.
That is true.
There's
I mean,
something
that
in
is
the
true.
rubric where it says all members.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
true. As long as everyone can speak to some aspect of everything, you're fine.
If I point to a random person and I say, how do you feel about the innovation project? Or what was your favorite part of the innovation project? The worst answer they could be is, I don't know. You know, or I don't.
Why did your robot use those wheels? Oh, I never touched the robot.
I didn't touch the robot. You know what I mean? Like everyone has to be involved in some way. Even if you're like not the expert on it, you have to show that you were involved with it's one team. You know what I mean? It has to be cohesive.
No, I just got a big flashback to the worst Q&A answer I've ever gotten in my entire life. No, I was judging at semifinals one year, and I was just like,
Oh no.
it was literally like, oh wow, you guys. This was during the pandemic years, right? So
when it was online?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
online
so-
judging was a trip.
Oh no! It was after that year.
Okay.
But it was like the first part of the year was still like quarantine-ish. So they were like, I was like, oh, so your team initially started with like this robot. How are you all able to work on the robot even though you were not meeting physically in person? And one of them just answered, oh yeah, our coach did. And I just went, oh.
No.
Yeah, I had a couple of those in FTC, and that was so tragic.
I just went, ouch. There goes so many points, actually.
That is our time for this session. Thank you all so
Thank you
much.
so
I'm
much.
going to open up the door. If you have more questions for these three, please feel free to ask. There's also a feedback survey for today's event that we'd like you guys to fill out. And just drop
We
it
just
off
get
the bottom.
asked from the feedback.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Wait, are you guys meeting this Monday?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
I can come on Monday.
Come on Monday, please.
Yeah, I can come on Monday.
It was wonder though. They just like I don't know. They were speaking with me as a coach.
Yeah.
It was the second they were just talking about me.
No, that's cute. That's
That's
so much.
But I don't think I'm
You guys-
No, I think I
Did you
love
have the
hearing
gearbox
from
for FRC, right?